And so, of course, it lands on Tirade, the #1 spot on Tirade, and it's just playing the first 30 seconds of the song over and over and over again. What's up? It's Zilla with Zilla Mode, and today we're going to be talking about 3 key ways to get on Spotify editorial playlists. Let's get into it. Now, just a heads up before we start getting into the 3 keys to getting on Spotify editorial playlists, just letting you guys know that I've been on Spotify editorial playlists a lot. I've been on at least 10 to 15 different Spotify editorial playlists, and I've landed on them multiple times. There are different varying ways that you can get onto Spotify editorial playlists. One way is to get on a personalized version of a Spotify editorial playlist, meaning that when somebody listens to that playlist, your song may show up different for one person rather than another person. You may be lower on somebody's playlist, and on somebody else's you may be higher. So the streams that you would get from those are kind of a little bit wishy-washy. They're not as much as a real placement. So definitely check that out in your Spotify for Artists app when you do land on some kind of editorial. Make sure that it's either a personalized one or a regular one. If it's not a personalized one, it will not say personalized on there. Now, the first key is to find what Spotify editorial playlists you even want to get on, and more importantly, what your music actually fits on. And so that way you can use that information to kind of figure out how to push your music to these Spotify editorial playlists and kind of the steps that you need to take there. So go on Spotify, look at Spotify editorial playlists, look up Spotify's profile. I think they have multiple profiles, but every single one of them have a different set of playlists, and check out those playlists, figure out what fits for your music, and find out how many playlists actually fits for your music. Write them down, figure out who's on these playlists, who are the kind of listeners that I need to be targeting when I am doing advertisements or I'm using hashtags on social media. This is important information that you can use to get those type of listeners so that you can push your music to those listeners and hopefully get on an editorial that those listeners are listening to. So once you have a list of all the editorials that you think that you should fit on, let's get on to step 2. Now, Spotify itself recommends that you pitch your song for editorials 2 weeks to a month in advance. This is just to guarantee that they actually listen to it, especially if you're a smaller artist. If you're a mid-size artist or you have a lot of experience getting on editorials, it matters a lot less because they already know your music, and I've had stuff land on editorials with a 2-day pitch sometimes. Now, there are some misconceptions about what pitching to editorials even is. A lot of people think that you have to pitch to editorials in order to even land on release radar, when that's not exactly true. If you have nothing else releasing and you're dropping on a Friday, you're going to be able to get your song on release radar without having to pitch anything. But if you have 2 songs that are releasing that week and you pitch, let's say, one on a Monday and you do not pitch the one on Friday, there's a good chance that that one from Monday might actually get the release radar push rather than the one on Friday. There's other chances where it could be the Friday one and not the Monday one, and vice versa. Regardless, it doesn't really matter if you pitch to editorials or not, although I recommend that you always pitch to editorials anyway. I think the main reason that I bring that up is because some people like to be selective about the songs that they pitch to editorials when it doesn't really matter. Go ahead and pitch all of your song to editorials because you never know what actually might land on one. What's most important is that you're sending information to Spotify. You are pitching a song straight to Spotify. You are sending direct information to Spotify about what your music is and what kind of editorials you would fit on. This is good information that they need so that they can push your music in the right direction. So one of the most important things about pitching to editorials is getting all the information right when you are putting your pitch together. First of all, you want to make sure that your location is your actual location, or you could actually put the top city that is on your profile, the top city that streams your music. You can find that on Spotify for Artists. You can use that as your location. I can see how that could help a little bit, but I don't really have any guarantee that it will help. I'm just saying that seems kind of logical. On the next page, it's going to give you a lot of information to put in, but the most important information that you can put in is, what is the genre? what kind of instruments are used, and what is the vibe of the song. So definitely pay attention to the genres that you're picking and make sure that they are correct. One way that you can find out if the genres are correct for the Spotify editorial playlist that you want to get on is you can use a site like Chartmetric and check out the Spotify editorial playlist and see what genres are actually on there that are listed inside the playlist. Like the artists have these genres attached to their names, and you can kind of tell, like, okay, these are the genres that I really need to pick. Because let's say you make EDM. That's a very broad amount of different types of subgenres that you could choose from, and it's kind of hard to tell what you even need to pick. So definitely use Chartmetric if you can. It has a lot of other features that you can check. It gives a lot of in-depth analysis on your music, and I think they have artist accounts now for like $10 a month. It's very valuable. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely check it out. Next, when you're picking all the other options, just keep in mind that most of them you only have to choose one. You can choose up to multiple, but if it's gonna confuse kind of like what the song is about, then just use one. If there's one specific thing that represents what is in the song, then go ahead and use that. Don't confuse it too much. When it comes to instruments used, definitely be careful. You don't want to put stuff that definitely isn't in the song. Like, for example, if there is a hip-hop song that you're uploading and you put in drum kit, that doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. Yes, you might have a kick and a snare in there, but it actually means a real live drum set, right? So definitely keep that in mind when you're putting the instruments in, that you're actually putting the correct information in. Now on to the last thing, the actual pitch, right? The description, the real words that you use to pitch your song. First off, I recommend that you just give a brief summary about what the song is about. Then I want you to flex who is on the song. If somebody's on the song that is big and has been on an editorial, flex that there. That's very important. But most importantly, out of everything, you need to tell them what Spotify editorial playlist that you think it would fit on. If you're dropping a metal song, right? You can say, I think this would be a great fit on the Spotify editorial playlist, All New Metal, or The Core, or a variety of different types of editorials that you can get in that genre, but you get what I'm saying. This immediately gives Spotify enough information to tell, okay, this is the Spotify curator that I need to send this information to send this pitch to. To wrap this up, one thing to also keep in mind is once you land on a Spotify editorial, it's actually a lot easier to keep on landing on that Spotify editorial playlist. And that goes for all kinds of Spotify editorial playlists, because Spotify has already chosen to kind of support you in that way, so it's more willing to look at your stuff first before everybody else's stuff. When I landed on my first Spotify editorial playlist, it was actually just a personalized playlist, and it continuously got on those personalized playlists, and then eventually I got onto a real Spotify editorial playlist, like a real placement, and from then I've just continuously got on them randomly for different songs for different reasons. Well, that about wraps this video up. I hope you guys got value out of this. I hope this kind of explained kind of how I pitched the Spotify editorial playlist. I know I've talked about this briefly in another video before. I just really wanted to give a deep dive into what Spotify is actually looking for when you're pitching to Spotify editorials. And there's a lot of things that I could talk about. There's actually one thing that I wanted to mention before I let you guys go today. There was one time I got a song and my distributor actually messed up the audio because I had uploaded it through my phone, and apparently their system just wasn't working at that time. So it actually messed up the audio to where it played the first 30 seconds of the song over and over again until it matched the actual length of the song. And so, of course, it lands on Tirade, the #1 spot on Tirade. And it's just playing the first 30 seconds of the song over and over and over again. I was so floored at what I was seeing. It was proof that the algorithm sometimes selects songs to put on the playlist. I can't stress enough how important it is to send the right information to Spotify, because at some point, Spotify's just not even listening to your music. They're just trusting that, you know, the information that you've given them is good, and they're just not even listening to the entire song to see if it's messed up. This happened to me. It was a real story, and I had to contact my distributor and get it fixed, and we were taken off that playlist the next week because, like, people were skipping it. And so, yeah, it just didn't work out very well, unfortunately. It was a pretty horrible experience, but it gave me a lot of insight into kind of how Spotify even works, you know, and how the algorithm works, and Spotify editorial playlist in general. But anyway, that about wraps this video up overall. I hope you guys, like I said, got a lot of value out of this. If you guys like this video and all the other videos, definitely click like and subscribe down below, and click the bell icon so you can get notified whenever I drop videos just like this. But anyway, I am Sad Zilla, and you just went in the Zilla mode. Zilla out.